probably been a while since I last said I was going to be back, but point is, I'm back. Alright, let's start on a big issue with a lot of tweens and teens. Yeah, I'm going to be reviewing Twilight. Oh joy! The incredibly popular story about how important it is to have a boyfriend. As beautiful as it may seem to be, that's all Twilight is at its core. Just some story about a teenage girl who's conflicted about moving to a new city to live with her dad, and then falls in love with some boy who turns out to be a vampire, and then it just... I'm gonna get frustrated talking about this. I truly am. And if you're like, well, if you're frustrated about it, why do you have the books? And yes, I do have the books to follow, including the novelette, or whatever you want to call it, the second short life of Britannia. That was given to me as a gift. Well, I bought these because a good friend of mine was like, hey, you like vampires. And yes, I do like vampires. But not what I'm about to show you. Never mind, I'm gonna cut that out of the thing. Alrighty, well, I'm talking about not this vampire, but I'm talking about the vampire Ian Somerhalder plays, the vampire Paul Wesley plays, and the numerous beautifully drawn vampires seen throughout anime and manga, of course. Now, I will give credit when credit is due. Stephenie Meyer did make an interesting male character. It's interesting to see because of the amount of teenage boys that are very rambunctious and don't take life too seriously. She captures that in Twilight, as in Eric, that geeky guy. Yeah, I'm looking at the book for references for this. Don't judge me. Mike, I think one of them is named. Eric, Mike, and Tyler. Yeah. Well, see, they're a lot more interesting to see in comparison to Edward. Because Edward's supposed to be straight-laced and secretive and mysterious because he's a vampire and nobody wants to know, or not that nobody wants to know, that he doesn't want people to know. And with that, it just seems interesting that he's so straight-laced. But because of the time he was raised, I guess, it would make more sense for him to be more of a serious and kind of stoic. I don't want to say it, because using stoic, thanks to Nostalgia Critic, or not critic, Nostalgia Chick. Sorry about that. But, thanks to Nostalgia Chick, I take the word stoic and think of people on her top 10 hottest animated guys countdown. You can tell I've watched it too many times. But more on that another day. I'll probably make a list with my weird taste to throw on all you people. But back to this atrocity. I must keep my focus on this. Ugh. Anyway, rips off a lot of a lot of beautifully done movies, such as Interview with a Vampire. And thank you, Brittany, for informing me of this. I don't get out often enough to know these things. But she rips off a few pop culture references, blah, blah, blah. And we have this little gift, courtesy of the Vampire Diaries and Ian Somerhalder.
How come you don't sparkle?
Because I live in the real world where vampires burn in the sun.
But you go in the sun.
I have a ring. Protects me.
Well, like they said, real vampires, or the more popular ones, didn't get the memo of sparkling in the sun. Now, I understand what the symbolism means. It means it's supposed to be a genuine kind of anotherworldly beauty that separates vampires from humans in the aspect of them being deadly and whatever human wants, and it's a way to attract their prey, like most hunters. The best analogy for this particular thing is a Venus flytrap, in my opinion, because it's beautiful to look at, and it lures in flies and other insects with the scent. They find a strong attraction to that scent, and they get sucked into the Venus flytrap, never being able to escape because of the water and other fluids it contains within inside. I'm not an expert, but the point is, that's what she's trying to get at with the sparkling in the sun. Comment if you think it means something completely different. And no, I don't mean it means they're gay. Today's society. You guys make me worry about poetic devices. Words that have now become just... they haven't become what the original intent. But because Edward even says that he's so attracted to Bella's blood that it's like becoming a heroin addict. I know that's not the actual quote, but I'm paraphrasing here. More or less, just looking at that. Oh! This is why, thanks to this, now that I'm seeing this on the page. Oh my god. Page 251 of Twilight. And I quote, "Besides, since I'd come to Forks, it really seemed like my life was about him." Really? Girls today should not have to have their life revolve around some guy. Or a relationship. Or anything else. It should be about them. It should be about becoming the best person you can possibly be, making a life for yourself. Just, yeah, you want friends, and you do want that happy ending that's so Americanized. And overall, Twilight belongs in a garbage can, or burned. And no, I'm not saying it's because it's written by someone who's got different beliefs than the standardized beliefs. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you're gonna write something for young people to read, it should not be about how a girl who this book is written through the eyes of should not be consumed about some guy. I mean, yes, there is more to it than that. And I think that was the intent, but there was supposed to be more to it behind it. I honestly wish it talked about how life-consuming relationships can be, or that your life does not have to end, and your life should not revolve around having a relationship. Yes, it's got some fantasy aspects of it, and I did read that part of this was about Stephenie Meyer herself. Now, the part it was that everybody was so interested because she was the new girl in town and everybody took interest. But not the point here. People are always going to be interested about what somebody foreign or somebody new to them, because it's just sometimes, like, we're not used to seeing when something changes in our aspect. We take interest in it because it's different. It's nothing like we've never experienced before. Yeah, people come and go, whatever. But when somebody new comes around, like, everybody's like, oh, who are you? Where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. Until they become part of the integral. They've been around for a while and nobody really cares anymore. But, see, I'm surprised I haven't lit these books on fire yet. Okay, I know the reason I haven't lit them on fire. It's more or less because they're written like, the style of the script, like, the language, it's not just, I met some guy, I fell in love with him, blah, blah, blah. It goes in depth about certain aspects. They get into intricate detail about the characters themselves, in some cases, and just, but basic part of the story, it's girl meets boy. Boy is kind of scared that he's gonna tear the girl's throat out. Gets the shit kicked out of her by some serial killer, vampire, really messed up guy. They break up in the second one. She goes on for months just like, the world doesn't exist without Edward. And then hangs out with somebody who turns out to be a werewolf. Big fucking cliche, because, yeah, Vampire Diaries was supposed to be all about vampires, and then in the second saga, they introduced the idea of werewolves, and then yada yada yada. But see, they did it cleverly, in my opinion. They didn't just poof, I'm a werewolf. They actually explained that there is a gene of werewolves, and okay, this isn't about Vampire Diaries. This is about this piece of shit. But okay. Okay, well, to be fair, they do talk about the legend of where it came from, and they explain that he started out of nowhere, though. That's what bugs me about this, is that out of nowhere, he just kind of morphs, like, he just starts going through a transition of it. They don't explain that it's a coming of age thing. They don't explain why he just all of a sudden did it, but it's all of a sudden. Third book, there's this big war going on, and they need all the help from the wolves to fight off Victoria's army because she wants to kill Bella because Edward killed James, and Victoria and James were in love, and she manipulates some guy from Seattle to create an army, blah, 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 blah. so they can't sense it's her. It was kind of clever, but... And then the fourth book, Bella and Edward get married. Jacob gets all pissed off. Bella has a child that kind of sucks the life out of her. The child grows abnormally fast because of Edward's vampire blood being... She's half human, she's half vampire. Then Jacob does this werewolf thing where he desperately falls in love with her. And of course, Bella's mad because she just had this child, and her best friend, who was in love with her, is now in love with her child, and it's kind of like this. I got that Bella was kind of jealous of it too. And then well, if you haven't read the books, or if you've watched the movies, oh god, I'm not gonna get into the movies. If you do have a choice between either watching the movies or the books, this is much better than the movies. It's got a terrible plot, I'll admit that, but it is a lot better than watching the movies. Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, well, okay, Robert Pattinson isn't a bad actor. He, I don't think, really knew what to do with the over-responsible Edward. Kristen Stewart, for people who like Kristen Stewart, you might want to plug your ears for this one. But I think Kristen Stewart, like Megan Fox, and please cover your ears if you like Megan Fox too, are the worst actresses I have ever watched. Kristen Stewart does a terrible job with Bella's role. She plays Bella's role as a very kind of almost robotic kind of way, where she has no emotion or has no range of emotion. See, she's supposed to be more developed than she kind of is played off to be. And oh jeez, Kristen Stewart, you don't play Belle the way it was initially intended. Well, before I blow my brains out by getting into a big, huge, like, angry, okay, I am kind of angry talking about this, but into a yelling and screaming complete rant, I'm gonna end it here. Twilight blows. As a movie, the movies are terrible. I know this because, well, not me, but I have watched two of my guy friends have no idea what Twilight was. Well, they knew it was a big book saga or whatever, changed it to a movie. But they fell asleep within the first 5 minutes. I think half the movie theater did. But alrighty. Read the books. I think you'll see that there are some good points, but a lot of really bad points. This has been the Glass Moonlight Angel. Peace out, homies.